Hey everybody, I just wanted to do a test live stream again on a different topic. Normally my live streams are about the car stuff, but as many of you know that have been here for a while, I'm dealing with rheumatoid arthritis, an autoimmune condition which I do not recommend to anybody out there. Uh, I'm not even convinced that it actually is RA, but it's not ankylosing spondylitis apparently because there's some blood tests that they can do and have done that can rule that out. But my symptoms are very similar to that. I have spinal inflammation, and that's what really sucks because everything goes through your spine. So when your spine is inflamed, and depending on where it's inflamed, and mine gets inflamed in different areas, it can affect many things. Primary problem has been pain, but I've also had sciatica, so obviously that goes beyond pain in many different ways. And the problems that I have move because where the inflammation occurs in my spine kind of just depends where it wants to be at. And pretty much almost always when it moves, let's say it's down, at the base of my spine, it doesn't usually go from here to here. It kind of moves, if you will. So I could have sciatica down, really low in the spine, and then the pain that I perceive in my back will be higher up, and then it will move further up, and it'll get into my middle back, and once it gets to the where your bottom ribs start, it radiates around into those to the front of those ribs, and I've even had it be further up, like actually be on my shoulders, which fortunately is rare, but really the very center of my back where it radiates to the front to my sternum is um, equally bad to sciatica. I mean, obviously, sciatica can be you can't really move. I mean, if you get it, just moving you're in bed and you throw your leg over to get out of bed, and that can bring you to your knees sometimes. But the middle back, radiating to the front, especially when it goes to my sternum and into my ribs like it is right now, it's psychologically very torturous, I guess you could say. But anyway, I just wanted to see if anybody will jump in on this subject on the live feed. So I'm going to run this for a few minutes to see what happens. And I'm going to mute so I can sneeze. All right, so because I'll probably leave this video up for my subscribers that might not be lucky enough to be around right now to catch my live feed. If you're wondering, and I picked up some subscribers also because of my dietary changes I made. So a year ago, June, so it'll be 2 years in a few months, was the first time I got on a carnivore diet. Got on the carnivore diet. It was like a miracle. Um, I felt incredible for a few weeks. It took a while though. It took a while, and then I had started hurting again by the time that I had the problem. And the problem was I was not doing the salt to the extent that I should have. I was originally, and as I felt better and better, I started putting down a couple of supplements that I was doing, and I would forget about adding, salt. Because it's a pretty good bit of salt on the carnivore diet that you add more than you would think that you could even tolerate. And man, I don't know why I'm just suddenly sneezing. Something got on my nose apparently. Uh, you wouldn't really, think that you could have, say, 3 teaspoons of salt in a day on top of whatever else you have. But at my weight, which is close to 200, 195, 198, depending right now, um, it looks like I need 3 to 4 teaspoons of salt a day. When I say four, probably that fourth teaspoon is in my food, but in addition to that, I need about three. So typically, I'll do a water with breakfast with a teaspoon of salt. Same with lunch. Same with dinner. And the the problem with having that much water, on top of, I'll have maybe another water. I'll do one of those flavored waters, the sweetened with stevia, and I'll do the Zevia drinks. I'll trying to do not more than one ultimately, but right now I'm allowing myself to have two in a day. And I ran into a new problem though. So a year and a half ago in June, I started backing off the salt, and I ended up in the hospital because I thought I was having a stroke. I had what's called a visual migraine. I need to make a video effect to demonstrate what that looks like, but you can basically say, take this screen, and split the screen with zigzags, and then rip the screen apart along those lines and have blackness in between with bright lightning looking outlines to your remaining vision, which also seems like it faded. It was awesome, but it was absolutely frightening at the same time. I thought, well, I think I might be having a stroke because I've been feeling dizzy for a few days when I would stand up, and that's what happened. I was working on the ground. It was June. It was hot, and I stood up, and when I stood up, that's when it happened. So later, after a lot of co-pays and tests and spending the night at the hospital, um, determined that it was a combination of three things is what they said. One was my well, I'll say salt level was low, but your electrolyte, had electrolyte imbalance. So that was the primary, but I also had low blood sugar. I haven't really figured that one out yet, except that I wasn't eating sugar. I was staying away from carbs and sugar, and then I was dehydrated, which probably plays into the low blood sugar. Actually, let's look up something real quick. So if you're looking at embarking on the journey of carnivore, probably to some extent, just low carb in general, keto, definitely be careful with electrolytes. Your body will tell you. Your body will tell you, and I'm going to get to the recent issue. But your body will tell you in several different ways that you have maybe your sodium is low or whatever. For me, it was the dizziness while standing was the primary, and just generally not feeling right, and your heart could just race at the slightest excitement or um, chore, I guess you could say. You feel your heart just pounding. And you're like, that doesn't seem right. Like what's going on? Uh, those two things for sure, and then obviously the visual migraine and probably headaches in general. And I just didn't think of it. I felt good. I was working. And this was the other thing. The dehydration part was, you have to imagine now. I've been dealing with this condition in earnest since 2019, but really I've been dealing with this condition for much longer than that. It's just that it would come and go. It was days out of the year and then days out of the month, but not even every month, and then days out of every month. And what's happened now since 2019 is probably, by 22 to 20, maybe 2023 range, it's a full-time job. I don't ever not feel like crap. I don't ever not hurt. Um, I've learned to tune out, issues, but it doesn't ever leave. And the journey along the way is not fun because, early on, when you first really are flaring and having, serious debilitating problems. I have a handicap parking permit now. That's how bad it is. The doctor's like, yes, instantly, here you go. Um, but you get to a certain point where you think, what if this doesn't go away? And it's a bad place to go with your mind. But you start thinking about like what would happen if I just hurt like this 24/7. Well, and then eventually you may end up hurting 24/7. Now, not as bad as those extremes, but it definitely can go on for an extended period of time. The one thing that I can resort to is, historically speaking, it always subsides. I do think that there'll be a point where that won't be the case, and it's not a place I want to go because it's a very dark place to be when you're under immense discomfort and pain and there is no escape. You can't pill it away. You can't sleep it away because you can't lay down because it hurts too much to lay down. You can recline, but even that eventually hurts. It's like there's nothing you can do. You can't really wear yourself out because you just don't feel good enough to really do anything exerting. And I don't enjoy that part of the situation. But anyway, more recently speaking of listening to your body, I'm trying to think of all of the. Let me think. Well, before I get to that, causes of low blood sugar: too much insulin, diabetes medication, or maybe your own. I don't know. Missing and delaying meals and snacks. Well, that would definitely apply to jumping into. I think there's a transition period, so jumping into carnivore from a non-carnivore diet. You got to kind of ease yourself into it a little bit. I went cold turkey. I was committed, and I lost a very high amount of weight very quickly. So, more physical activity and exercise than usual, 100%. Usual for me is incredibly low, and I'm making a change to that situation effective this year. I've already made several moves in that direction. I don't know how it's going to work out. I don't know how my body's going to take the exercise, but I'm told by different doctors that it's something I should do, so we're going to do it. Alcohol, no, I wasn't touching that. Weight loss can also affect it, and I certainly lost a lot of weight at that period of time. 20 plus pounds in a month. So I guess that's probably how I was low blood sugar. But so the most recent thing was so I'm much better on salt this time around. So I started carnivore again, carnivore light, ketovore you might call it, around October, with the knowledge of some events plus the holidays coming up that I was not going to commit. I knew there was no way I would make it through the holiday season without having a little bit. I did incredibly well. Went to a Christmas party, and they had every kind of dessert and tasty food imaginable, and I stuck to the cheese and the high-end meats, things like that. And hey, David. Well, then you got to get on carnivore, is all I can tell you. But I did very well, and then I had two little tiny cookies, and I had alcohol, and really I didn't have a major response to that. It's really strange. But then we had a party a couple weeks later, and people brought over every kind of delicious thing you can imagine, and I did have a couple of small pieces of various. There's a slice of cake and a slice of pie, very little amount, and I had alcohol because I was hurting, probably as a response to that other party where I had drank at. But anyway, so more recently, suddenly taking the salt as I'm supposed to, 3 teaspoons a day or more sometimes, salting the hell out of my food, and started noticing that I was getting up to go to the bathroom at night, which happens, but it was like every night. And I felt like I had to go even when I was done. So I did a little bit of research on it, and the number one cause of that in my situation, if you're supplementing your salt intake, is low magnesium. So I went ahead and started dosing 2 magnesium pills a day. They're huge, like about as big as your finger So I take one of those in the morning, one in the evening, and I've also thrown in potassium because some of the other symptoms that I've had just overall, particularly related just to my sleep sucks. So I've started doing both of those now, and it seems to be helping. So that's good. But the bottom line is you get an imbalance. You get too much sodium, not enough potassium. Your body goes, well, time to get rid of the sodium. Hence, you have to go take a leak. So that's that pretty much. Anyway, knowing that Christmas was out of the way, then I was going to commit to. No, it's not. I was going to commit to actually really taking the diet serious. However, today has been really bad, and I don't know why. I had really no cheats. I mean, I did have a very, very, very minor cheats. Not like I went out and had French fries or Pringles, but I have these grain-free, olive oil-based chips that are made out of like cassava flour or something. They're off the. They're in the carnivore spectrum. They're off of the. I'm sorry. They're in the keto spectrum and off the carnivore. But I just don't think that's what it was. But I'm just incredibly flaring right now. It's all back in my ribs again, and I've been up since 4 a.m. 3:45 this morning, and I've taken a whole Percocet pill in one day, which is incredible. Usually I take half in one day if I take one at all on a day. And I had the first one at 4:30 and the second one at 8:30 in the morning. And I've needed one all day today, but I'm just not I don't want to become resistant. I don't want to become dependent. And, but I also don't want to suffer, So ideally I would already have taken one, but I'm trying to push through the pain tonight because I'm hoping maybe tomorrow it'll subside. It will subside. But yeah, it's not, old men sleep. I don't sleep. I've been up probably in the last 10 days. I've probably slept from midnight to 6 a.m. twice. And it's not good because it's a self-perpetuating issue. No sleep affects testosterone. Testosterone affects pain, recovery, many other pain tolerance, I should say, and many other things. Strength, endurance, and then the less you sleep, the worse it gets. And the worse it gets, the less you can sleep. So it's kind of a bad spot to be in. But anyway, that's kind of my update for those of you that described. I'm going to go back and watch this video, and if it's not halfway decent, I will delete it. But I know I picked up a number of subscribers a couple years ago when I jumped on the carnivore bandwagon. I fully support the idea of carnivore as a major help to autoimmune condition, insulin resistance, any of those things that America is, very much covered up with right now. High fat, not too high in the protein, because too much protein is bad. Actually, you can get protein poisoning. Yeah, I'm looking into that, David, myself. Just had blood work done actually, so let me know how that goes. But oh mercy, yeah, my back is hurting so bad right now. I'm telling you, I'm just like, it's the main reason I'm doing this video is because what else can I do? It takes my mind off of it. Even though I'm talking about it, I'm not sitting there thinking about how much it's hurting. But what I've read on TRT is that it absolutely will not only will it increase your tolerance for pain. I've also read that it can actually reduce pain a little bit. I guess body recovery, I don't know. But look up the statistics on men with an autoimmune condition that start TRT. There's a 30% improvement across the board as an average, I should say. I mean, it's on average there's a 30% improvement in the condition. So it's definitely something to be looked at. A lot of, you know, there are risks, but there are also risks with being low. So, out of curiosity, what was your number? Where were you at? How low were you at? So, I guess we'll wrap this up pretty shortly, but I just want to say if you're going to start carnivore, anybody out there is going to start it. I can't stress enough how important it is to hydrate, to make sure your electrolytes are supplemented properly. Don't be afraid to get blood work. I would actually really encourage that you get some blood work, get your baseline, and at least periodically check and see how you're doing. Electrolyte imbalance is no joke. So that's one of the key things, that and hydration. If your autoimmune conditions suffer and you feel better, you're going to do a heck of a lot more than you were, and you're gonna need hydration if you're out there, chopping down trees or whatever. That's been my problem. Every time I start feeling better. So I actually did start feeling better, by the way, right after the first of the year. I had a bad flare right there through the Christmas. I did a steroid pack, and yeah, same here. 10 years ago, it was right around that, and then it was good. It was real good. I have reasons I won't discuss online for why I think it was, but it was good. And then I'm very curious to see. But yeah, that's absolutely must respond. If you're talking 185, you've got to do something with that. You have a whole different life now, I bet. I often wonder if I'm not low, and that's why I've been slow on the uptake for my banjo playing. You know, uh, low testosterone, high testosterone. Your muscle memory actually improves significantly if you're on the high side. So I would think maybe on the flip side, if you're low, your muscle memory sucks. Maybe you should take up banjo or something. But yeah, stay on top of your hydration. Stay on top of your electrolytes. Blood sugar, I don't know. Um, I'm I am trying to stay away from all forms of sugar, and I'm also trying to keep my carbs very much in check so they don't convert to any sugars. But I will say today, because I'm not touching sugar at all, but I'm in this horrible flare, and David, I'd actually like to talk to you on the phone about that when I get off this video. If you're up for a quick call. Um, but anyway, I don't know. I guess we'll just see. Lost my train of thought now with that. Oh yeah, the playing and things of that nature. So I am coming along pretty good on the instrument playing. Mostly on the music side. I've learned a lot. I understand a lot. I can hear chords. I feel chord progressions, timing. I mean, all these things I'm doing incredibly well with. But the actual playing of the banjo up to speed has been a real challenge for me. Old age is definitely a factor there to a certain extent. But hey, if something can help it, then awesome. All right, well, I think that's my update. I gotta make a phone call here real quick with my one viewer to discuss some things, but I will hopefully do some more updates on the situation. I will just say in closing that I'm absolutely committing to carnivore right now for the foreseeable future. I have no real desire to have sugar. I did have one banana nut muffin thing tonight that it was actually uh, sweetened with, it's a sugar, but it's not a normal sugar, but it is a sugar. Like it's legit. Like, you know, would mess up a diabetic, would cause insulin. but I did it to basically shake up the tree a little bit because of this flare I'm in. Sometimes having a cheat meal is a kick to the system. So in a couple of days, if I'm still feeling this way, I'm going to the Waffle House and I'm having a 100% SAD, a 100% standard American diet all-star special with their seed oils and a waffle with real sugar and syrup and a coffee and everything that could stimulate me to flare, to kick this flare out, hopefully. But we'll see. All right, I will catch you guys later on. Thanks for watching.